Welcome to the Lights Out podcast. This is Chris Lights Out Lytle, and this is our journey to document the history of mixed martial arts. I have brought with me my friend, the MMA detective Mike Davis, and together we will preserve the history and hear some great stories from the world in the era of the no holds barred. Thank you and enjoy.
Welcome back to the Lights Out MMA History Podcast. I am Joey Venti. With me, as always, is the MMA detective Mike Davis and Chris Lights Out Lytle. Today, we have a very special episode. Our guest today is not only a pioneer, but a true legend of the sport. A boxer, a wrestler, a fireman, a cowboy, Pride Fighting Championship superstar, and the champion of 2 8-man UFC tournaments. UFC Hall of Fame member, Don the Predator Frye.
Yeah.
Hey, partner, how y'all doing?
Now, Don, I started fighting in 1998. It's hard for us to get on here and get too many people who started before me, but man, I mean, when I was fighting, I was looking up to people like you. So can you go back and what got you involved in fighting right from the beginning? Because it was a different animal back then.
Yeah, it was. It was no holds barred. It was fun. Easy. Better for me because I didn't have to remember any rules, you know. Made it simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw Dan Severn. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, that's why I'm saying you had a
saw
wrestling
Dan Severn on. Yeah, I saw Dan. I was at work, Bisbee Fire Department at the station, and I saw Dan Severn on TV, and I said, well, shit, there's Danny boy. What are you doing? And then I called him up. I said, hey, Dan, Don Frye, remember me? He said, yeah, boy, what are you up to? And so I told him, and shoeing horses and playing fireman. And said, can you get me in on this stuff? And he said, yeah. So he got me some fights. This is probably 94 or 95. And he got me some fights, you know, around the country. And then we did a fight New Year's Eve, 95, 96 New Year's Eve. And in Battle Creek, Michigan at the Kellogg Arena. And I forget the name of the organization. And I fought for the World Heavyweight Shoot Fighting Championship. Dan fought for the World Super Heavyweight Shoot Fighting Championship. And we both won. And then a couple months later, or a month and a half later, I got a phone call from the UFC. Wanted to know if I wanted to fight in their February event. I said, well, hell yeah.
And now, Don, I like back when I first started fighting, when I go to Japan, you could still headbutt, you could still knee to the head on the ground and everything. Some of my favorite moves. I know I was there when it transitioned and they made all the different rules. I'm an old school guy. I'm a purist. I like that style better. What about you? Some people I talk to prefer the newer rules. Other people like the old MMA. I know the NHB. There was no MMA. NHB, no holds barred. I like the NHB rules. What about you?
Yeah, I liked them too. I mean, it was just a little bit frightening when you watch the axe murderer. You know, always Silva leaned up there and took a big old soccer kick on somebody's head. Watch their head snap back. You know, but yeah, it was made for a more interesting fight.
Well, I think nowadays with a lot more rules, I mean, if you can't knee a guy to the head, they can sit there and hold their sitting position. I'm like, knees to the head and headbutts, they made people move. Like, you get hit with one knee, like, oh no, and then you roll over, and then you can get a choke. You can punch him. You can't just sit there and hold. It makes it a little bit more boring right now because you can't open up enough because you can just sit there and block and stuff.
Yeah, it eliminates, you know, it takes a whole word fight out of the organization, you know. I mean, it's a fucking fight. If you're limiting, you know, your arsenal, it's no longer a fight.
Agree
with that. So Don, you started college in Arizona, and then you transferred over to Oklahoma State. What did you have any experiences with the Schultz brothers while you were there?
I did when I was at Arizona State, because I had just been recruited by Coach Douglas, in '84, and they were there in Arizona State training for the Olympics. So I got to meet them both then. It was amazing. Watching those two work out was just phenomenal. And one time, Schultz Mark Schultz got finished, and I walk up and I says, can I go with you? He says, yeah. And we walk up and he throws me. And that fast. I go, well, I wasn't ready. He says, too bad, and walked off.
I think Mark Schultz, as a competitor, they always kind of put him one notch under his brother. But if you look at the totality of their resumes, granted, his brother's got a bigger resume. Mark is underappreciated in that duo right there.
Yeah, he is. But, Dave was phenomenal. I mean, he won the Tbilisi tournament at 16 years old. Just a fucking legend, And Mark, like you said, Mark was just an equal. He was more of a caveman. They're both cavemen, but Dave was a slick one, or Mark could just come in and just crunch it.
Yeah. So you were announced before the UFC. Did you fight in a Mexican bull ring?
Yeah, when I was doing boxing, yeah. So we'll find a bull ring in Tijuana. Yeah.
Okay. You were listed as having
walk down the ramp. I walked down the ramp where the bulls, where they let the bulls loose, to get to the ring. Yeah.
That's wild. You were also brought in to the UFC, and it said you were trained by Richard Hamilton. What was your experiences with him?
No. That guy's a piece of shit. He's a lying piece of shit. He owned a fucking set of keys to a gym. That's all there was to it. He had a fucking set of keys. And that's how most of your fucking trainers were back then. They just happened to have a set of keys to a gym, and they knew nothing.
Well, I mean, Don, back then I felt like, even when I started training in '98, like nobody really knew anything. Everybody was learning right then. The sport wasn't even a sport. You were figuring out how to do it all, sometimes in a fight. And if not, you were in the gym just training with another buddy and learning stuff as it went. There wasn't any trainers. Was that your experience too?
Yeah, it's kind of like the shit John Jones pulls now. He just makes shit up while he's in the ring or in the cage. And that's what we were doing at the time.
When Richard Hamilton got arrested, did the FBI come talk to you as well in regards to his activities?
No, they didn't come talk to me. I learned about that through Dan and his attorney, the person.
Okay. And then what about Russ Harris? He was also a trainer of yours.
Russ, he showed me a couple elbow moves, but Russ was more fuck. I had just went through a divorce, and at the time, he was like he had like fucking confidence, man, and just there, and after my first divorce, I believed everything everybody said, and after my second divorce, I believed nothing anybody said, So
Don, who were you training with back then? Was there anybody were you training with, Severn? Who were you training with back in the day? I mean, you had to have me training with somebody, were you, or was it just wrestling and boxing? What were you doing?
It was just wrestling and boxing and judo. It's been taking up some judo, and guy named George Torres down there in Fort Huachuca. And then on Saturdays, Steve Owen was his sensei. He would come down from Tucson for Saturday practice, and then I started going up to Steve's dojo Monday, Tuesday, Thursday nights. And I'd drive up there. It's an hour and a half drive each way, and I'd get back home midnight. 1 o'clock in the morning. And then
Wow.
I get up at 5 or 6 and run, 3 miles.
Ooh.
And that's how it was, and then during the day, I would jump rope, hit the bag, wrestle, lift weights, watch videos. There wasn't really any videos to watch except for, you had 4, let's see, well, you had 6 or 7 UFCs then, to watch. And that's how we figured, that's what you had to figure out what the hell was going on. And it wasn't like there's a lot of things going on.
When you fought Mark Coleman in the rematch, Frank Shamrock trained you for it. Did he seek you out or did you seek him out?
I sought him out, because I was having a lot of problems. Looking back on it now, I guess I had fucking marriage problems my whole fucking marriage. And I didn't recognize that at the time, So I went over to Frank's place, to get away from the bullshit at home and try and concentrate. And but I was so fucked up. Physically. Well, we hardly ever trained, He would take me to the to get a massage, take me to the gym just to stretch, or hit the mitts. That was about the extent of our workouts. And then go to the chiropractor, spend more time in the car going to the chiropractor and the massage therapist than anything else.
What was happening with you physically at that time?
Oh, my back was crumbling on me. I had a couple of herniated discs, I had broken my neck. I'd broken my neck earlier, twice. Broke my neck 99 or 98, 99 doing pro wrestling. And then they, didn't know it. But then my arms started atrophying. And then in 2000, they fused it. And then I started fighting, went back into pro wrestling, and then they started fighting in 2001, and it just continued. It just never gave it the opportunity to fix, because I was back in the wrestling ring in 3 months after the fusion.
Man,
that's crazy. When Obaki choked out,
when you work for the Japanese. You work for the Japanese. You gotta know what the hell they say, man.
Yeah, for sure. When Obaki choked out Dave Beneteau, he pointed at you outside the cage, and you pushed him with some pretty bad intent. I thought you guys were going to throw down. What's the story behind that?
I don't know. He just walked over and said, "Fuck you," And I was like, "Well, I can't have that," And then I walk in there, and the guy in his face, what the fuck you say to me? He says, "Get out of the cage." I said, "What?" He says, "Get out of the cage and kiss me." And that's when I flipped. I should have punched the dumb son of a bitch, but I wasn't dressed properly. I was in fucking sandals and shorts because the airlines had lost all my luggage.
oh,
How come you two never ended up fighting? I thought for sure that would have been a good leeway for it.
I thought so too. But nobody picked it up. Like that son of a bitch who hit me over there in San Francisco. Fuck. Let's get on that celebrity boxing thing. You're a fucking pro boxer, I know you're not gonna fucking fight in the MMA, so let's get into celebrity boxing. Let's make some fucking money off of it.
You and Ken Shamrock had an interesting rivalry prior to your fight, and you threw a glass of water in his face at the Beverly Hills Cafe. What was the foundation of that taking place?
What do you mean foundation?
Well, how did it? You don't throw a glass of water in somebody's face without, something happening.
we were just mouthing off, and he was puffing up his chest, But it was all my fault. I started talking shit, about Ken after he beat Dan Severn, and number 6, I believe, and I didn't start talking shit until I got into the UFC, and then it just snowballed from there, and then he mouthed off, puffed up, mouthed off. So there's a glass of water there. So I thought, well, let's just get it going,
Now, Mike, I was actually at the fight when they fought in Japan. Cornered Alex Stiebel in a fight there. That was a lot of hyping from him. Pride was unbelievable, man. Just going there, the hotels, everything, the venue. I really felt like you did a lot of really good body work on him that really paid a lot of dividends in. I mean, what do you remember about that fight?
I was shocked because I got a real good left hook, and I was sitting there hammering his side, hammering him, and it didn't seem to phase. So I was like, "What the fuck is this guy made of?" Just started worrying me. I'll tell you that, partner.
Tom Erickson, you guys almost got into a fist fight at a King of the Cage event. What's the backstory there?
Tom Erickson and I did?
That's what I read.
When?
I think Tom Erickson mentioned it in one of our podcasts. Okay, fair enough. Your first UFC was February 16th, 1998, David versus Goliath. Thomas Ramirez is your first opponent. He is being billed as
96.
96. I put your damn. Look at you, Don. Man,
Come
Chris,
on, Mike.
we're gonna have to put that in the highlight reel.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, Thomas Ramirez.
You get better people, man. Shit.
I know. Come on.
Undefeated in 200 street contests, and that's your first opponent. Was there any concern on your end, or when did your concern leave, I should say?
There was never any concern. I didn't even know I was fighting the guy. I thought I was supposed to fight somebody else from earlier UFC who was 6'8", 280. Pardo, I think it was, right? Okay. Remco Pardo?
Yeah.
Something like that. And he pulled it out, and I didn't even know it. I was at the poll the day before, and Scott Ferrozzo says, "Hey, easy money, what are you doing?"
So you get past him, 8-second KO. Sam Adkins, 48 seconds with a cut. Sparring partners with Tommy Morrison and Lennox Lewis, that's Sam Adkins' claim to fame. And Gary Goodridge, who at this point had an incredible highlight reel knockout. And Big John McCarthy was notorious for stopping his fights early. What was your thoughts going into Gary Goodridge?
I didn't, because I was lucky enough didn't see the match, where he elbowed the guy. So
Paul Herrera.
Paul Herrera. If I'd have saw it, I'd been worried. Damn right, but I didn't see it.
Okay. So Tank Abbott and Alan Goes have a fight in the crowd that night, and there was a real bad fight at the after party. Do you remember any of that?
No, I don't. I remember seeing the fight on the video, but I don't remember a fight in the after party. Not at all.
The after party was where I think Coleman challenged a lot of the Brazilians.
Oh yeah. No, Coleman wasn't there. That was UFC 8. Coleman wasn't in there yet.
Oh, man, Chris, I'm 0 for 2. Don, please. Sometimes you got to lie for one of the hosts.
Yeah.
Got to cover up Mike's mistakes.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a really good listening to one,
just
too.
expected more, man.
Come on, Mike.
God damn. Well, here, Huntington Beach, there's a lot of personalities there. You know, Kimo was there as well. I know him and Kimo and Alan Goaz had issues. Tank had issues pretty much with everybody. Did you notice any tension at the hotel or after party?
No, because I was so busy at the after party, with my new girlfriend. I just, making love eyes at her, and her at me, and I at her. I don't think she ever loved me. And she loved the money, but not me. Yeah. And no, I was too busy knowing what the hell was going on. I know that Ramirez came up to me in the party and said, "I'd like to fight you again." I said, "Okay, set it up."
Now, Don, I remember whenever I'd go to Japan, I'd always go out afterwards to Roppongi. I know a lot of guys would like lay low, do whatever, but afterwards, I was a wild man. Did you go out to Roppongi a lot?
Oh yeah, way too much. A lot of fun, Roppongi.
Oh yeah, I mean, man, they probably had to treat you like a king and big.
Spent a lot of money there,
Expensive. But it was fun. I had a blast.
Yeah.
Your original opponent for UFC 9 for the Motor City Madness card was supposed to be Marco Ruas. What happened, and why did that fight never take place?
I don't know. I think he got hurt. Glad he did. I mean, Marco's a phenomenal fighter, and I think he could probably stomp the shit out of me, and would have been the end of my career. I just been one and done.
So, in regards to like UFC Hall of Fame fights, in my opinion, the wrestler really put a stamp on their name with your Amri Bitech fight. Amri Bitech is the reigning international jiu-jitsu champion, 151. Carlson Gracie's touting him as the next big thing out of Brazil, taking Royce's spot. Pretty intense and incredible fight.
Yeah, John McCarthy had his money on the test, and again, I think everybody had their money on the test, and good Lord was on my side that night, good Lord.
Now, John, real quick. I mean, like, some people like it when they are the favorite. Some people like it when they're the underdog, less pressure. Did that matter to you? Did you care which it was? I always felt like a lot less pressure as an underdog and just go out there and fight your ass off.
It's still less pressure as the underdog, but I don't care either way. I was just there to fight, and it didn't matter. I wasn't placing a bet on the fight, so it didn't matter to me.
So Bitech and yourself, it is one of the most intense things, including modern MMA included. That fight, it's like watching two flies. It's super fast, super quick, the transitions. How did you prepare for the jiu-jitsu of that fight?
That guy's a phenomenal fighter. Phenomenal. I mean, I hit him hard, and like you said, we were fast. We were moving like middleweights, and because basically we were. I think I was 205, and he was 185, 195, something like that. So we were moving a lot faster than the normal heavyweights. But just my preparation never changed for any of the fighters. Steve Owen was my judo sensei, and he would train me judo style. And then at the time during the UFC, for my hands, I had a guy named Danny Diaz. He worked my hands. The Diaz family are from Sierra Vista, and Hank Diaz God bless him. He's 80 years old now. He was a legend down there as a bodybuilder, and trainer and all that. And he always let me work out for free at his gym, ever since high school. And I could walk in there today and he'd let me work out for free, and a great family. And but Danny worked me real hard on the mitts and on the body shots, because I love working the body, and Danny loved working the body. So it was a real good team. And then same thing when I got into Pride, I started working with a guy named Rocco Ciatoli, and Rocco just as efficient, but more head. But he would get in the spar. Danny just had the mitt work, in the bodysuit, but Rocco would get in there and spar with you too.
So that was the same event as Dan Severn and Ken Shamrock. They call it, when they were circling each other for a while, and they had said that they were worried about getting arrested and fined if they had punched each other. Why are they concerned about that and not that of yourself at that event?
I don't know. Apparently, I must be a little bit smarter than those two, because John McCarthy explained. He came in the locker room and says, "Listen, there's no rule. There's new rules now. New rules. This is NHB." He says, they're threatening to shut us down. You can't punch with the closed fist. You can't this. I said, what? What do you mean can't punch with a closed fist? Are you crazy? It's a fight. And he says, or you will be fined sometime, some amount, somewhere in the future, And so it's like a wink, wink, nod, nod thing. And I got it. I don't know why those guys didn't get it.
The rumor is that with Mark Schultz entering into the UFC that day, due to the fact that there was a last minute pullout and he had gotten paid $50,000, the rumor is that those two had tried to renegotiate their contract because they were pissed that Schultz was getting so much money for the fight. Is there any truth to that?
Oh, really? That I don't know. This is the first time I heard of it. And I thought Mark got paid $250,000. Shit, I thought he got paid a lot more than 50.
Wow. Yeah, no, it was 50. It was 50. I asked Art Davey that too. He didn't bite on it either. Just a theory. Mark Hall, you fight him July 12th, 1996. You fight him 3 times in a very short period of time. How would you sum up your trilogy with Mark?
It was a waste of my fucking time.
Your last fight with Mark, a 20-second ankle lock. I mean, it's your only leg lock submission in your career. Do you want to open up on that?
Well, if you look back, I tried it on Shamrock. I tried it on Batesh, but Batesh, you look back, you look at the Batesh fight, I go grab his ankle, he kicks me square in the fucking face. But I'm standing up on the top of him, and I grab his ankle and go to block it, and he kicks me right in the face, and I dropped it then, I have attempted leg locks on other fights, but fuck, I fought him 3 times, and it was right there. I mean, you got to learn. I mean, like when Goodridge beat me, I mean, shit. I beat him twice, and then the third time I come out, Steve Owens says, you got to watch out for the head kick. Gary doesn't kick, famous last words, shit. You got to be prepared for anything and everything. And I was, besides that, I was doped up for that fight, so banged up at that point in my career.
Were you fighting with a lot of painkillers at any point?
Yeah,
while on them?
Yeah.
While on them?
Throughout Pride. every pride fight and every fight after that, I was on painkillers. That's why I was moving so slow, so shitty. Had no reflex. If I was smart, you know, I'd have waited until after the fight to take the damn painkillers, you know. But I was training on them, you know. I was living. So I figured, you know, what the hell? I'm living on them, training on them. So, but I didn't know that, you know, when you're training, when you're living that style, you don't really recognize what the fuck, you know, is going on with your life. You know, you don't recognize your appearance to everybody else and how slow you are and your reflexes. You just get used to that.
What's your rock bottom in regards to understanding that you needed to get away from them?
Oh, hell. I don't know. I hit several of those. You know, I mean, when you lose to some of the guys I lost to, it's like, yeah, you know, there's no reason, there's no fucking excuse for it, no reason for it. But yeah, that, and then the divorce, you know, and all kinds of nasty shit. Parents dying, you know.
Yeah, it's not easy. That's not
I
easy.
gotta get a glass of water. Let me get a
Take
glass
your
of
time.
water.
Take your time.
Sounds good.
Well, Chris, we got Don Frye, man.
This is cool, man. Liking it. Man, I like it when we get like I said, anybody more old school than me, I like.
Yeah. So I'm over at the ABC convention in Las Vegas, and Nick Diaz was here taking pictures with the commissioners. Like he was taking, and I'm like, these people have taken more money from you than anybody else. Like,
yeah.
I'd be afraid if I was a commissioner to get a picture taken with them.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Your finals with Mark Coleman at UFC 10, you got Tank Abbott in the crowd yelling to Coleman to relax and grab the fence. Was there any issues between you and Tank?
Not that I know of. Hell, not that I know of. I know only time I ever spoke to him was in Puerto Rico, UFC 8, out by the pool. You know, he comes up to me and says, "You look like you got a big dick, don't you?" And I said, "Well, I do have a big dick." And he just kind of looked at me and walked away.
A weird way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think he tries to go for that scare tactic or bluff or the shock thing, and it didn't happen to me. Let me turn this fucking phone. Yeah. I've been an athlete my whole fucking life. You know, I've heard it all.
When Mark Coleman went for a neck crank, you grabbed the fence and stood up. Don, the type of abuse you took in that fight and refusing to give up, I have to assume you were pretty banged up after Coleman Frye won.
Yeah. I had to. Luckily, my younger brother lived in Tennessee at the time, and Coleman broke my occipital, you know, or ocular. I'm not sure which one it is. And anyways, so my brother lived in Tennessee, so he drove down for the fight, and so you know, my girlfriend and I hopped in the car and drove. Had to go to Tennessee and hold up there for a week, you know, to heal up before I get on the airplane.
Scott Ferrozzo fought Tank Abbott at UFC 11, and Ferrozzo did his entire camp with you. How would you describe that experience?
Scott called me up after UFC 10, and said, "Hey, you know, Scott Ferrozzo, I want you to train me to fight Tank Abbott." I says, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I just got my fucking ass kicked. Why would you want me?" You know? And he says, "Yeah, but you did it in style, man." You know, you never quit. And so I went up to his house and trained him, and that was his goal. His goal was to beat Tank. And it wasn't to win the UFC, wasn't anything else, just beat Tank. And so we met that goal.
So in UFC 12, Mark Coleman beats your guy Dan Severn, and at the end of the fight, they mentioned Tank Abbott, Ken Shamrock, yourself for a super fight. But instead, they bring in a 500 fighter named Maurice Smith, who had 0 fights within the organization. Do you think that they were trying to matchmake to beat Coleman rather than make the best fights at this point?
No, Coleman was their new monster. They did everything they could for Tank Abbott to win. The ultimate. They gave him, God dang it, Cal Worsham first round. Cal's was a friend of mine, God bless him. He passed away last year. But Cal in UFC 9 against Zane Frazier, he busted a couple of ribs and punctured his lung, And so there was absolutely no way he was in shape, ready to take that fucking fight, 6 months later. And but I mean, he's a tough ass, former Marine, so he took the damn, he signed his name. He knew what he was getting it for. I mean, he's tough as shit, but he wasn't physically ready, I don't think. But he did what he could, and that's why they gave him the Tank. And then next round, Tank had Glass Jaw Joe, which was set up for Tank. I mean, they set it up perfect for him to win. And put the tough guys on my side, but nobody made it.
In Japan, you fought Mark Hall. You got a forearm choke at 529, but the main event was Kimo versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Was this supposed to be a work that turned into a real fight?
No, it was a shoot the whole way, unless Bam Bam had me fooled, because I know, I talked to him before the fight in the lobby, and he was jacked up and ready to go, And I mean, Bam Bam had a reputation for being a super tough guy, and he was.
See, the rumor was that it was obviously a wrestling match that turned into a real fight once Kimo realized Bam Bam was a little bit tired. That's not the impression you got.
Oh yeah. No, but I mean, like I said, I was pretty dumb back then. I wasn't smart to, a lot of things, because I was too focused. I mean, I had narrow, tunnel vision on everything. That's been my problem.
Becky Levi was on the card, somebody unappreciated and a definite pioneer of women's mixed martial arts. She was in your corner quite a few times. Would you give us a little background and thoughts on her?
Becky was a friend of mine. She was in the judo team that I was, Tucson Judo, with Steve Owen. And I think she was an alternate on one of the Olympic teams for women's discus and shot put, she was a hell of an athlete until she's fucked up her back, and she's a damn good fighter. Just hell of a judo player. It just her back was already banged up at that time too.
So Tank Abbott, going into the Ultimate, said that he doesn't respect anybody. We talked about your kind of, or his path as compared to yours already. And Tony Blauer at the end asked Tank if he respects Don Frye now. And he said he respects no one in the world, Don Frye and yourself. Was there anything personal happening there? Because that's kind of something that, I could see you leaning into it at an after party.
I think Tate, just like I said, he likes that shock value. I mean, that's what everybody. I mean, thing is, guy's a fucking asshole. That's the bottom line. And he says what he wants. Says what he wants because he's had the way of having all his buddies behind him at the bar.
At the Ken Shamrock versus Fujita fight, which is the Petey My Heart fight, you cornered Fujita. How do you end up in that corner and you're the only person really licensed to handle a heart issue at that point? What did you think Ken was going through?
I went over there, I saw what happened and I went over there to his pulse. His pulse was rapid. I mean, just so fucking rapid. He had a hard time getting there, and his corner didn't know what the fuck to do, and it was a bad situation. I called for some oxygen and they give me this can. I go, what the fuck is that? And she said, it's oxygen. And I'm expecting a tank, with a mask. And but yeah, we got oxygen on him, and they took him back, cooled him down. I should have packed his balls with ice. That's generally what you do too. You just shove an ice pack down their pants. And I didn't do that because one of the guys started mouthing off to me, and I'm like, fucking asshole, I'm trying to take care of the guy here. And so it just it broke my fucking heart to see that happen to Ken. It really did. I mean, because even though I was a dick to Ken and I said things I shouldn't have, I respected the hell out of Ken, and on some levels you fear him too, because he was dangerous, and he's slick and powerful, and just for his heart to go out on him, it really hurts.
How did you end up in a corner of Fujita?
Fujita wrestled for New Japan like I did, and like Brian Johnson did. So they wanted us to corner him for the fight.
After the 9/11 attack, September 24th, 2001, you fight at Pride 16 against Gilbert Yvel. It is one of the filthiest, ugliest, grimiest fights I think I have very rarely ever seen. You kind of gave him a pass on it, though. You were nice to him afterward, even offering a rematch.
Yeah, well, they're always guaranteed money in a rematch, right? Thing is my buddy Brian Johnson, he had a stroke he was on tour with New Japan Pro Wrestling before that, and so a month before the fight, I was in training and got a phone call that Brian had the stroke, and they asked if I would go there and finish the tour on his behalf. And so I said, yeah, but I need a sparring partner, to go with me. And so they did everything I wanted, I need this much time of, I need the ring available to me, every day. And they did everything I wanted. New Japan Pro Wrestling is solid, just solid. And during the last match, I think it was like a week and a half before, or a week and a half, 2 weeks before the fight, the last match against Scott Norton, I took a bad bump and strained my adductor, and then my groin on the other side. And so I took a week off from training, then went in there and worked out, and I pulled it. And I pulled my adductor and my groin. And so before the fight, they had taped it up and shot me a lidocaine, and I limped out there. That's why you see the wraps on my legs in there. And God bless Gilbert. I mean, all he had to do is kick me and move. And he destroyed me. But he came to fight. God bless him.
Yeah, dude, you literally went out to that fight physically hobbling, and it was pretty shocking. That like you clearly shouldn't have been in that fight.
Yeah. Well, that first takedown, I blew it. Like I said, I streamed it and I pulled it, and then it just blew. It blew my adductor and my groin. On that first takedown, and Steve Owens said he could hear it. He heard it pop, over the crowd, and I had my back was bruised from my middle of my back down to my heel. My leg was black, just solid black.
It's fucking nuts. You Ciro Abidi, you win 33 seconds rear naked choke. You and Ken Shamrock fight in Pride 19, fight to a split decision. The build-up to that fight was really interesting. At one point, they pull everybody into the ring with chairs for like a press conference, and you two literally almost fought. What was the thoughts on their end behind that?
I don't know. That was stupid on their end, but I was trying not to fight because I didn't want Ken to get out. I didn't want him to escape, the fight. and I would lose money too. I would lose a lot of fucking money, which I ended up losing anyways because the goddamn managers, they robbed me of a ton of money. We had both had the same managers, agents. Yeah, and they stole $1 million from me off that fucking fight.
Was this a Japanese manager or American manager?
No. Couple of scumbags from Hollywood.
Ugh, that makes me sick. So when you guys watch the
I think I feel.
Oh yeah, when you watch that press conference, Instant Inoue doesn't leave his chair. Everybody's like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute." Anyways, just sitting in his chair, like not even caring. Did you ever work out with
something
anyone?
else, man? It's an amazing fighter, man. Amazing guy. Him and his brother, they're awesome. They are awesome. I love those guys.
He kind of gets carte blanche in Japan and likes to show off that he doesn't follow the rules over there. He's Edson's the man.
Yeah. He is. He's tough. I mean, geez, he's a phenomenal fighter. And he's solid too. He gives you his word. It's good as gold.
Oh yeah. He's got a 1,000 credit score with his word. Absolutely. Well, at this point, you're 13-1, and you're on quite a roll. I would say you and Coleman were on a crash course again at this point. Were they offering anybody else?
Right. No, they they offered me. Who was next? Who did I fight next?
After
who did I fight after?
Joey
Shamrock.
Come on, Joey.
Huh? After Shamrock,
yes,
it's the Yoshihiro Takayama fight.
Yeah, that was supposed to be Coleman, and I trained my fucking ass off for that. Went to Hawaii, so I'd be halfway there. And trained there for 2 or 3 weeks, and spent a ton of money, training there. But it's such an important fight, and what's crazy about it, it was an important fight for me. It ended up being a more important fight, with a different fighter, but yeah, I got the phone call that Mark had hurt his neck. First they said he broke his neck, and that scared the hell out of me, prayed, got down on my knees, prayed the good Lord to make him good. Not because he's a hell of an athlete. You don't want to see him happen to. I thought it happened to Brian Johnston, who's a phenomenal athlete, and then I didn't want it to happen to Mark, and so for a few days it was kind of like in limbo, and then I got the phone call. He was all right, but he just couldn't fight. But then they came up with an alternate for me.
When you saw
Hicks
and Gracie, after watching him fight as a wrestler, what were your thoughts about that, and just about Hickson in general after seeing him fight?
I never seen Hickson fight.
Never watched any, no video, nothing.
Never have. I saw in UFC 1 or Pride or something. They're showing Hickson doing all this floppy shit on the beach, with his hands and then flopping his arms, like this. Like, what the hell is he doing? It looks like he's getting ready for a game of Twister.
Did they ever offer you Rampage, Pride?
No, sir. No, they never did.
To me, that's like that dream matchup. It just makes complete and total sense.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any dealings with the manager?
No, they never offered me.
Go ahead.
Pardon?
Who else didn't they offer you?
They never offered me the Russian.
Igor Vochenchin? He's Ukrainian. You talking about
Igor or the other guy?
Fedor?
Fedor, yeah. They never offered me either. Right. So there's a lot of people I think they could mess me up with, and they didn't. Probably a good thing. Probably lucky that it didn't happen.
Did you have any dealings with early MMA manager pioneer Phyllis Lee?
Yeah, Phyllis was Dan's manager.
What do you remember about Phyllis?
And I met her at UFC 7 or 6, UFC 6, because Becky, Levi, and Dave Norton and I jumped in Dave's Land Cruiser and drove up to Wyoming. It was like a 20-hour drive or something like that. And they drove, I slept, shit. But I met her up there with Dan, and she was a knocked up.
Takayama and yourself, legendary fight between the two of you. Would you mind opening up on that? I mean, was that just kind of like planned from the beginning, or did it just organically happen?
It just happened. If you watch, I walk out there, throw a punch, he throws a punch, and knocks my legs out from underneath him like that. So I just grabbed to hold on, so I want to hit the ground. And then I just said, well, hell, I'm here. Let's start punching. Yeah.
Jerome Le Banner,
that
you
guy
fought
was
him
powerful,
yeah, big time. Phenomenal. Dude, it's legendary.
Takayama was powerful. Yeah.
Legendary fight.
Just, strong with everything, and he took it. Didn't budge. Never went backwards.
Your fight with Jerome Le Banner in K1, what was your motivation to take that?
Money.
Yeah.
That was what my bet was, money. I mean, K1 used to pay good back then,
Yeah. Money and stupidity,
Yeah, Le Banner was a stud back then. You were also supposed to fight Aaron Brink in Monterrey, Mexico, but it fell through. Whatever happened with those negotiations?
Yeah. Oh, hell, I don't know what happened. How long ago was that? 20 years ago?
Yeah.
18? Yeah, I have no idea.
Did you almost fight Dennis Hallman in the IFL? Like in like a pre-fight? Like in a lobby of a hotel? Maybe a bar?
I took advantage of a situation I shouldn't have done. I walked in, everybody had been drinking, I'd been drinking, he'd been drinking, and he said, "I'll fight you," when he's sitting there. And like an asshole, I slapped him. And I was the asshole in that situation. I took advantage of a drunk. It was a chicken shit move on my part. And he got right up and came after me, and Boss Ruben got in between of us, and Dennis threw a kick and hit Boss in the back of the head, staggered him. He's like, "Fuck, I've never been staggered in my fucking life." He was pissed. But it was, a shit move on my part, and I apologize to him for it.
It's no big deal. It is what it is. Shit like that happens in MMA.
Yeah, but taking advantage of a drunk is chicken shit, Might as well slap a woman around.
How would you describe your relationship with Gary Goodridge?
I love Gary. Gary's a good guy. Good man. I should call him more. He calls me, and he's Gary's in a real bad way, and it's sad because he's a good man, and he got taken advantage of by his family, and friends, and one of the members of his family stole all his damn money.
Don, I feel like a lot of the early pioneers for the UFC were there before there was a lot of money. I'm a firm believer the UFC needs to come out and, the people who built the sport, they need to do something for them financially. I don't care if it's a couple thousand a month, just kind of have like some kind of retirement, man. I think they've made enough money where they can do that. Does it ever kind of bug you how they just seem to kind of turn their back on the people who kind of helped build the organization?
Yeah, it's chicken shit. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I like to see him throw us some money. It's like Eric Peterson got the NFL Hall of Famers. They all get $2,500 a month, retirement, for being in the Hall of Fame and to help them out. And that would be fantastic, if the UFC could pry that money out of their wallet. But I don't think it's going to happen. But that'd be fucking fantastic.
It'd help a lot of people.
It'd help a lot of people and motivate the current fighters to train harder and fight harder and try and get, inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
You also had a training session with Jeremy Horn before. Where was that at, and what was it like rolling with Jeremy?
Partner, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember at all.
Okay. Chris, that's motherfucking Don Frye right there, buddy.
Couple questions here, Don. I mean, the Predator was a nickname. Is there any story behind that? Because I'm a firm believer. You don't give yourself a nickname. How did you come by that nickname, and who gave it to you?
To myself, it's for an honor of my bulldog. My name is Bulldog. My name is Bulldog. And where he takes off his helmet, and Bulldog's big old just pulling back, and and it's just like the Predator. So I named it for my dog.
I love it. Don, you have something you do, podcast with Dan Severn, Toxic Masculinity. I'd like you to plug that a little bit right now, but at the same time, I love the title. This is a weird era we're in right now where people are they don't like masculinity, man. I mean, I can't wait till this airs over because this world's gone nuts, man. Is that why you guys are doing that podcast? Just to kind of put it out there that we need more toxic masculinity?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I stole that from the liberals themselves, toxic masculinity. And we also do a Q&A session called Double D's in Your Face. And we have a lot of fun doing that toxic masculinity. And then we found out a couple of guys here in Tucson, double Special Forces guys, they have a whiskey called Toxic Masculinity Whiskey. And so we've put the whiskey on our show a couple of times. And we have a blast doing that. We get former Navy SEALs, Special Forces guys, we get fighters, retired fighters, current fighters, pro wrestlers. We had Mick Foley, we had the Honky Tonk Man, Ray Cascare, he's a former Navy SEAL. We're trying to get Robert O'Neill, the guy who whacked Bin Laden, so that's my fault because I've dropped the ball on that. I need to get after that one. We're going to get Sheriff Mark Lamb up here. He's the sheriff of Pinal County. He's going to run for senator up here in Arizona. So we're going to get him in the show. We have a lot of. We had a porn star, Brandy Love, just had her on the show a couple of weeks ago, and get a wide variety of people, obviously.
I love it.
Joey, you want to ask? You got that one question you were talking about.
I was at the King of the Cage fight when you fought Ruben Villarreal, Warpath, and you had superstar Billy Graham in your corner. How did that happen?
Billy and I were friends, man. I met him. Dave Meltzer from Wrestling Observer introduced us, and so I'm a big fan of Billy's. Obviously, goddamn, the late Billy Graham. Now he passed away a couple of months ago. God bless him. And who isn't a fan of Billy Graham? He's awesome. And we were fighting there, in Globe, Miami, and he lives in Paradise Valley. And I got the promoters to give him a hotel room, to come over and watch my fight. And when I was walking up there, that whole thing was a clusterfuck because I was just getting off. I was getting off a bad run with dependency on drugs to my back. I fought a week earlier against Akibono, and he had fucked up my back, just being so damn powerful, and he would run me into the ring, to the corner of the ring, and I had bronchitis when I fought him, and so it was, you hear on the fight, after the fight, and I'm like that, falling down trying to breathe, and he just really messed up my back. And then before the fight, I usually have a couple cups of coffee over there in Pride for the caffeine, and we didn't have any coffee. So, like a dumbass, I drank some big old energy drink, which I had never had before. So, yeah, never before. And what's rule number one? Don't change your routine before a fight, right, Chris?
Yep.
You don't do something stupid. You don't introduce something new. You don't try new food. Don't try new drinks. You got a routine set. You don't fuck it up. So I drank that whole fucking can of energy drink and it just bloated in my belly like an anvil, and walking out there, when I got there, Billy, I was ready to fucking throw it, just walking down that far. And, he started talking to me, telling me to get after it. And I'm like, oh, Billy, this ain't going to be good.
I love it. Well, Don, hey, we appreciate your time so much, man. You've been a legend forever. You always will be. You put on so many great fights for everybody. A lot of people, everybody, the old school guys, you're always one of their favorites, a guy they always want to talk about and have you on just hear about what you got going on. So thank you for giving us your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for remembering me, and saying those nice complimentary words. Thank you.
Been great.
Don, I get a hold of you next week, buddy. Thank you, man.
Yes.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.